you're debt-free. Completely debt-free. $0 owed. Clean slate. Your credit cards? Paid off. Your medical bills? Paid off. Your student loans? Paid off. That loan shark who was threatening to break your legs? Paid off. You did it! You're finally free! Except you're not free, because you only have one kidney now. And that scar on your abdomen? It's not healing right. It's infected. You can't afford to go to the doctor because you just spent all your money paying off your debts, plus the $15,000 you got for your kidney. Oh, and the people who bought your kidney? They didn't exactly use a licensed hospital, so that infection, it might kill you. But hey, at least you're debt-free. Congratulations, you traded your health for money, and now you have neither. Let's go back, because this nightmare didn't start with selling your kidney. It started with something much smaller, much more innocent. A credit card. You're 22, fresh out of college. Student loans are piling up, but you're not thinking about those yet. They're in deferment. Future you's problem. You get your first real job, $35,000 a year. Sounds like a lot until you realize rent is $1,500 a month. That's $18,000 a year just for a studio apartment in a city where all the jobs are. You need a car to get to work. You buy a used one, $8,000. You finance it because you don't have $8,000. That's $300 a month in car payments. Rent, car, insurance, gas, food. You're barely breaking even. And that's if nothing goes wrong. Then something goes wrong. Your tooth starts hurting. You need a root canal. Your dental insurance covers 50%. You owe $1,200. You don't have $1,200. So you put it on a credit card. You'll pay it off next month, you tell yourself. Except next month, your car needs new tires. $400 on the credit card. Then your student loans exit deferment. $600 a month, every month, for the next 10 years. You're drowning, slowly, quietly, but drowning. Within 2 years, you have $18,000 in credit card debt. Not from living fancy, from living, from existing, from having a body that needs food and healthcare and shelter. The minimum payments alone are $400 a month, and that barely covers the interest. You're on a hamster wheel that never stops. You try to get a better job. Can't. Everyone wants 5 years of experience. You try to get a second job. You're already exhausted from your first one. You try to cut expenses. You're already eating ramen 3 times a week. The collection calls start. 3 times a day, sometimes more. They threaten to sue you, garnish your wages, destroy your credit. They call you irresponsible, lazy, a deadbeat. You're working 50 hours a week just to stay poor. Then you get sick, really sick. Appendicitis, you need emergency surgery. You have insurance, but it's the cheapest plan with a $6,000 deductible. After insurance, you owe $9,000. Your debt is now $27,000, and you're 24 years old. And you realize this is never going to end. You're never going to get out of this. You're going to die in debt. That's when you start looking for other options. You're scrolling online at 2 in the morning because you can't sleep. Anxiety has become your permanent state. And you see an ad. Need money fast? Donate plasma. Up to $400 a month. $400 a month. That's something. You sign up. Twice a week, you sit in a chair for 2 hours while a machine sucks the plasma out of your blood. Your arm aches. You're tired all the time. But you need the money. It helps, a little, but it's not enough. Not even close. Then you see another ad. Egg donors needed. Compensation up to $10,000. If you're a woman, you're not, so you keep looking. Sperm donors wanted. $100 per donation. Okay, that's something. You sign up. Turns out they're picky. You don't qualify. Apparently, your family medical history isn't ideal. You're running out of body parts to sell legally. That's when you stumble into a darker corner of the internet. Not the dark web, just darker. Forums, Reddit threads, Facebook groups with vague names. People talking about selling kidneys, bone marrow, corneas, parts of their liver. You think it's a joke at first. Then you realize it's not. These are real people, sharing real experiences, giving real advice. Go to India. Safer than other countries. You can get $2,000 to $3,000. The Philippines will pay more, $5,000 if you negotiate. If you're in the US, Mexico is closest, $10,000 to $20,000. But be careful who you work with. You tell yourself you're just researching. Just curious, you'd never actually do it. But your debt is $27,000 and growing, and the collection agencies are threatening to sue. So you keep reading. You find a broker, through a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. It's all very cloak and dagger. Encrypted messages, burner phones, cash only. The broker explains the process. You'll go to Mexico, Tijuana specifically. There's a clinic there. Clinic is generous. It's a private facility. The doctor is experienced, hundreds of surgeries, very safe. You'll be compensated $15,000, cash, immediately after surgery. You do the math. $15,000 would pay off your credit cards. Not all your debt, but most of it. You'd still have student loans, but at least the collection calls would stop. You ask about risks. Minimal, the broker says. You have 2 kidneys. You only need 1. People donate kidneys to family members all the time. This is the same thing, just paid. It's not the same thing. You know it's not the same thing. Legal kidney donations happen in hospitals, with medical teams, with follow-up care, with legal protections. This is different. This is illegal. This is dangerous. But you're desperate. And desperate people do stupid things. So you say yes. They drive you across the border at night. You and 3 other people. Nobody talks. Everyone looks scared. The clinic is a building that looks like it used to be a dentist's office, or maybe a vet's office. It smells like bleach, too much bleach, like they're trying to cover up something. A man who says he's a doctor examines you. No medical records, no blood work, just a quick physical. You're healthy, he declares. Good enough. They give you a consent form, written in Spanish and English. You try to read it, but the broker rushes you. It's standard, everyone signs it. You sign it. Because at this point, what choice do you have? They take you to a room. There's a surgical table, lights, instruments that look clean, but you're not entirely sure. There's an anesthesiologist, at least someone who says they're an anesthesiologist. They tell you to lie down. You do. They put a mask over your face, tell you to count backwards from 10. 10, 9, 8, 7. You wake up screaming. The pain is immediate, searing, like someone set your abdomen on fire and then stabbed you. There's a bandage on your side, not a professional medical dressing, something that looks like it came from a first aid kit, held together with medical tape and, yes, actual duct tape. A nurse, or someone pretending to be a nurse, gives you pills. For pain, she says. You don't know what they are. You take them anyway. They keep you there for 6 hours. Then they tell you it's time to leave. You can barely walk. Each step sends shocks of pain through your body. They don't care. They give you an envelope. You count it. $15,000. Cash. Then they give you instructions. Don't go to a hospital for at least a week. If you do, don't tell them what happened. Say you fell. Say you got mugged. Say anything but the truth. If you talk, there will be consequences. You nod. Take the money. They drive you back across the border and drop you off at a gas station in San Diego. You call an Uber. The driver asks if you're okay. You lie. Just had surgery. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're very not fine. The first 2 days are okay. Painful, but manageable. You take the pills they gave you. They help. You sleep a lot. You tell your job you have the flu. They're annoyed, but whatever. Day 3. Your fever starts. Low at first, 99 degrees. You think it's normal. Post-surgery inflammation. Day 4, it's 101. The incision is red, hot to the touch, swollen. Day 5, you can't get out of bed. The fever is 103. The incision is leaking fluid. Clear at first, then yellowish, then greenish. You know what that means, infection. You need to go to a hospital, but you're terrified. The broker's warning echoes in your head. If you talk, there will be consequences. But if you don't go, you might die. So you go. The ER nurse takes one look at you and calls for a doctor, immediately. They ask what happened. You tell them you fell, landed on something sharp. They don't believe you. The incision is too clean, too surgical. The doctor is blunt. This is from surgery, recent surgery. Who operated on you? You don't answer. Listen, he says. I don't care what you did or why you did it, but this is infected. Badly. If we don't treat it now, you could die. Sepsis, organ failure, death. So I need to know what we're dealing with. You break. You tell him everything. The debt, the broker, Mexico, the kidney. He doesn't judge you. He's seen this before. More times than he'd like to admit. They admit you. IV antibiotics, wound cleaning. They have to reopen the incision to drain the infection. More surgery, more pain. You're in the hospital for 5 days. Then they hand you the bill. $12,000. Let's do some math, because math doesn't lie, and the math here is brutal. You sold your kidney for $15,000. You paid off $13,000 in credit card debt. You still have $14,000 in student loans and medical debt from before. Then you got an infection. Hospital bill, $12,000. Net result? You're $2,000 deeper in debt than when you started. Plus, you only have one kidney now. Oh, and your health insurance? They're investigating whether to cover the infection treatment, because the surgery was self-inflicted and illegal. If they deny the claim, which they probably will, you're on the hook for the full $12,000. So really, you're $14,000 deeper in debt. You traded an organ for nothing. Actually, for less than nothing. You're worse off than before. Congratulations, you played yourself. But it gets worse, because it always gets worse. Your remaining kidney is now doing the work of 2 kidneys, which means it's under more stress, more strain, more likely to fail. You're supposed to follow up with a nephrologist, a kidney specialist. Monitor your kidney function. Make sure it's handling the extra load. You can't afford a nephrologist. You can barely afford rent. 6 months later, you're feeling tired all the time. You're retaining water. Your ankles are swollen. You're not urinating as much as you should. These are signs of kidney failure, but you don't know that. And even if you did, what are you supposed to do about it? A year later, your one remaining kidney is functioning at 60% capacity. Normal is 80 to 100%. You're in stage 2 chronic kidney disease. If it gets to stage 5, you'll need dialysis or a transplant. Ironic, right? You sold your kidney and now you need a kidney. But here's the beautiful part. The absolutely fucking beautiful part. You can't get a transplant because you're not eligible. Because you sold a kidney illegally. It's in your medical records now. Any transplant center that sees it will reject you. You sold your kidney for $15,000. And in doing so, you disqualified yourself from ever getting one back. You destroyed your future to pay off your past. Let's talk about why this happens. Because it's not just about you making a bad decision. It's systemic. In America, medical debt is the #1 cause of bankruptcy. Over 500,000 people file for bankruptcy due to medical bills every year. Even people with insurance. Student loan debt is $2 trillion. Trillion. With a T. An entire generation is being crushed under the weight of education they were told they needed to succeed. Credit card debt is over $1 trillion because wages haven't kept up with the cost of living, because rent is 50% of people's income, because existing is expensive. And when you're drowning in debt, when collection agencies are calling 3 times a day, when you can't sleep because you don't know how you're going to pay next month's rent, you start considering options you never thought you'd consider. The illegal organ trade generates over $1 billion a year. That's not a typo. Billion. And 96% of sellers are in debt. Medical debt, student debt, gambling debt, any kind of debt. They're not evil people. They're not stupid people. They're desperate people. People who have been failed by a system that values profit over human life. And the people who buy these organs, they're not evil either. They're desperate in a different way. Desperate for life. Waiting on transplant lists that are too long because not enough people donate legally. It's a system that creates desperation on both sides and profits off that desperation. So, where are you now? You're 28 years old. You have one kidney that's barely functioning. You have $16,000 in debt, more than when you started. You have a scar on your abdomen that throbs every time it rains. You can't get life insurance. You were denied. Pre-existing condition, self-inflicted. You can't qualify for a mortgage. Your credit score never recovered from the collections. You work 2 jobs now, 50 hours a week, just to afford the medication you need to keep your remaining kidney functioning. You tell people you had a kidney removed because of a tumor. It's easier than explaining the truth, easier than admitting what you did. At night, you lie awake and think about that $15,000. You think about how fast it disappeared, how little it actually solved, how much it cost you. You traded a piece of yourself for a temporary solution to a permanent problem. And the worst part? The absolute worst part? If you could go back, if you could do it over again, knowing everything you know now, you're not sure you'd choose differently. Because that's what debt does to you. That's what desperation does. It makes the impossible seem reasonable. It makes the unthinkable seem inevitable. And that's why it sucks to sell your kidney to pay your debt. Because it doesn't work. Not really. The debt comes back. It always comes back. But your kidney doesn't. You can't buy back your health. You can't undo the surgery. You can't reverse the damage. Money is temporary. Your body is all you have. And once you start selling pieces of it, once you start treating yourself as inventory, as a commodity, as something to be liquidated for cash, you stop being a person. You become a product, a transaction, a cautionary tale. This is what happens when healthcare is a luxury, when education is debt, when survival requires sacrifice. When the system is designed to extract everything from you, your labor, your money, your health, your organs, and give you nothing in return except the privilege of existing. You were never supposed to win this game. The game was rigged from the start, and the house always wins, even when the house is taking literal pieces of your body. So what's the lesson here? What's the takeaway? Don't sell your kidney? Yeah, obviously. Don't do that. But the real lesson is this. The system that pushed you to consider selling your kidney, that's the problem, not you. You're not weak. You're not stupid. You're not a failure. You're a victim of a society that commodifies human life, that treats healthcare as a business, that turns education into debt, that criminalizes poverty while celebrating wealth. A society where selling your kidney for $15,000 seems like a reasonable solution to a debt problem is a broken society. And until we fix that, until we fix healthcare, until we fix education costs, until we fix the debt trap that millions of people are caught in, more people are going to make the same choice you made. More people are going to wake up with one kidney, a pocket full of cash, and a lifetime of regret. More people are going to learn the hard way that you can't buy your way out of systemic failure with your own flesh. Welcome to America, where your body is worth more in parts than it is whole. And you learned that lesson the hard way. You're 22, fresh out of college. Student loans are piling up, but you're not thinking about those yet. They're in deferment, future you's problem. You get your first real job, $35,000 a year. Sounds like a lot until you realize rent is $1,500 a month. That's $18,000 a year just for a studio apartment in a city where all the jobs are. You need a car to get to work. You buy a used one, $8,000. You finance it because you don't have $8,000. That's $300 a month in car payments. Rent, car, insurance, gas, food. You're barely breaking even. And that's if nothing goes wrong. Then something goes wrong. Your tooth starts hurting. You need a root canal. Your dental insurance covers 50%. You owe $1,200. You don't have $1,200.